Good morning, dear students. Welcome to our biology program. Today we are continue the third unit for the reproduction. In the first sessions we talked about the number 1 support in plant and human, number 2 the hormonal coordination, and we finished these 2 units about the hormonal coordination and support in plant and in human. Now we are going to describe what is meant by reproduction. Reproduction is a characteristics which characterize the living organism. Each living organism characterized by 7 characters like nutrition, respiration, movement, okay, and reproduction. Reproduction is a process by which the living organism can keep its kind from extinction and also can keep its species. Now we are going to show what is meant by reproduction. Reproduction is a vital process. What is meant by vital process? Vital process means it is a process that can the living organism depend on it. Like what? Like after reaching at a certain limit of growth, the living organism maintain its species by the reproduction. Okay. The reproduction protects the living organism from extinction. What is meant by extinction? Extinction means that the living organism cannot find its kind. Okay, and also by reproduction, the living organism increase its number. The reproduction process depends on all the other vital functions of living organism and not the reverse. Means that reproduction undergo by the nutrition after eating a type of food and take time for reproduction. Growth comes after reproduction. Means that the reproduction depends on all other vital functions, not the reverse, means not the opposite. Reproductive capacities among living organisms means how the living organism can undergo this reproduction. Number 1, from the reproductive capacities, the reproductive capacities differ from the living organism according to, number 1, various ambient. What is meant by various ambient? Means surrounding environment. According to the environment in which the living organism found, the reproductive change. So the reproductive capacities differ from living organism to another according to the environment that the living organism found in it. Okay. What is the example? Like aquatic organism. What is meant by aquatic? Aquatic means the living organisms that live in water. Whatever the type of water. If this water fresh water or salty water. The aquatic organism produce much more progeny than they produced by their relative on land. How? Because the organism or progeny that found in water susceptible to loss because there is no defense according to it. Aquatic organism produce much more progeny, means much more individuals than the produced from another organism found on land. Number 2, life nature of living organism and the prevalent hardship. Examples are parasitic. Parasitic means what is meant by parasite organism. Parasite organism, that the organisms that feed on another living organism. Parasite like the worms, bilharzia worm, ascaris worm, these are parasites. Parasites means living organism depend on another living organism to get its food. Like the worms, like the insect, bugs, okay? So in the parasite, the number of individuals produced from reproduction must be large number. Why large number? To compensate the loss. because the amount of loss of this organism much more than that another type of organism. Okay, produce more progeny than other free-living organisms in order to compensate their loss, because parasites small in size and exposed many times for loss. Evolution degree of living organism and its age. Example, the primitive or short ages organism produce much more progeny than other that long ages. How this? This is occur for the primitive or the living organisms that found in primitive or short ages. Short ages means their duration time or age time بتاعهم عمرهم يعني بيبقى very small or very little time. So they make more progeny, means more individuals to compensate this loss than others that take long ages progeny. This is then the higher or long aged one. This is a question, give reason why the short or small ages individual produce large number of progeny than the higher, because the production of the large or higher aged is less endangered. What is meant by endangered? Endangered means susceptible or exposed to danger. Exposed to dangers mean accident, enemies feed on this organism. The long-aged individual take large time, and also the time for endangered or not exposed to endangered, so the number of progeny found or individuals that come out from the long-aged small number than the short number. Okay, because the production of the latter is less endangered due to the care and the protection. Care means keeping them and surround them by awareness. Okay, and the protection that they are provided from their parents. From the previous, it is obvious that the species and the individuals seen around at present express. What is this? The success of their ancestor in reproduction, their overcoming of the hardship which they faced throughout their consecutive generation. Means, what is the success of their ancestors? Ancestors means the parents. The parents of the progeny or the parent of individuals live large time or take large time because they avoid any dangers or enemies that face them. So they take large time or large individuals from this short ages progeny. The living organism reproduce by many ways and modes in order for continuity of their species, and these modes can be grouped into two main methods. What are these sentence means? This sentence means that the living organism undergo many types of reproduction, and we can control this reproduction in 2 points. Number one, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. The living organism undergo reproduction. Why? To keep their type from extinction, number one, and to produce large number of species, to live more and to keep them in environment in large number. So we can classify the reproduction, or we can collect all modes of reproduction or all types of reproduction into, what are these two? Number one, asexual reproduction. And the asexual reproduction, it involves only one parent and not depends the type of this parent, if it is male or female. No, we cannot depend on them. Only it involves only one parent. Okay, the second reproduction, sexual reproduction, this type of reproduction represents the presence of two parents, must be male and female, to undergo this reproduction. What are the methods of reproduction? This diagram shows the two types of reproduction. First, asexual reproduction, and we start with it. What is asexual reproduction? Okay, it is a type of reproduction that involves only one parent. What are the modes of this reproduction, or what are the types of this reproduction? Okay, number 1, binary fission. Number 2, budding. Number 3, regeneration. Number 4, parthenogenesis. Number 5, reproduction by spores. Number 6, tissue culture. Okay, we will take every one and describe it in details and make examples for each one. The second type of reproduction, sexual reproduction. And the sexual reproduction may be reproduction by sexual gametes. Gametes means ovum, sperm, or pollen grains like in plant. Conjugation means mating, okay, between individuals. Okay, we start the first type of reproduction, asexual reproduction, binary fission. What are binary fission? Binary fission means that the living organism undergo this reproduction to increase the number. Mitotic division, or this asexual reproduction, occurs by mitotic division. What is the mitotic division? It is a type of division in which the individual produces the same cell by the same number of chromosomes. Also, the mitotic division helps the individual to. This is the mitotic division occur in binary fission. Okay, binary fission is a type of reproduction occurs in primitive unicellular. What is meant by unicellular? Unicellular means a living organism that consists of only one cell. Only one cell. What are the unicellular? Unicellular such what? Such as, number 1, bacteria is a unicellular, paramecium is a unicellular, euglena unicellular, some types of algae like chlamydomonas algae is a unicellular. Unicellular organism means primitive organism that all the reproductive or all the systems occur inside this cell. Means this cell occur each type of reproduction, like asexual. First, simple algae. What is the simple algae and bacteria? Simple algae, type of algae like chlamydomonas, bacteria is a unicellular. Many protozoa. What is the protozoa? Protozoa such as ammonia or internipa, also paramecium. This is the unicellular organism. Unicellular organism. Okay. What happens in the binary fission? In suitable conditions, the nucleus inside the cell divides by mitosis or mitotic division. That represents the body of unicellular divides into 2 cells. Okay, like we said before, that is each cell divides to produce 2 cells and becomes a new individual. Okay, this is a type of binary fission. Parent cell, this is the parent cell. Okay, inside the cell, the nucleus. After that, the nucleus divides mitotically. Also, the cytoplasm inside the cell divides mitotically into 2 parts. There is a conjunction between them. After that, they separate to produce two daughter cells. Okay, each cell contains the nucleus and contains the number of chromosomes. What is the cuticle layer? Okay, cuticle layers means if the conditions is not suitable for the reproduction, the ammonia surround itself by a cyst. This cyst made of cutin to protect it from the external environment, to allow the cell to divide, then remove this cyst and come out of the body. 2 cells, each one contains the same number of chromosomes. Okay. Number 2, it divides within that come from several times by repeated binary fission to increase the number. Okay, to make the ammonia or amoeba increase the number by binary fission and by take many times of mitotic division. The young ammonia are released from the cyst once the surrounding conditions are improved. After improving the conditions, around the bacteria or around the amoeba, the conditions become suitable. What happens? They come out from the cyst and live like any living organism normal, okay? If the conditions become suitable. When the condition becomes suitable, amoeba can go out from the cyst. If the conditions not, it surrounds itself by the cyst and complete its reproduction inside the abnormal conditions. Now, we take the second type of asexual reproduction. The second type of asexual reproduction means by budding. What is the budding? Budding is a type of reproduction in which the living organism reproduce to increase the number. It occurs in two types of cell. Okay, budding occurs in two types of cells. Number one, in unicellular, like the yeast. Okay, yeast which adding to the stuff in your home to making bread. Okay, adding the yeast, put it in warm water and add small spoon of sugar. What happens? You can see after few minutes that the amount of yeast become large in number. Why? Because it undergoes asexual reproduction by mitotic division. Okay, so it is a unicellular organism. What another type of reproduction like the multicellular? Multicellular organisms such as the sponges and the hydra. Sponges and the hydra, this is a type of multicellular organism, okay, and also the budding occur in them.
Sponges are the simplest multicellular and bottom-dwelling organisms. Like all other organisms, the sponge produces new offspring by the process of reproduction. Sponges are generally hermaphrodite and they reproduce asexually and sexually. During sexual reproduction, sponges release male gametes called sperms into the water through ossiculum. A sperm consists of a round, nucleated head and a vibratile tail, by the lashing movement of which it moves in water and reaches other sponges through ostia. Fertilization in sponge is internal. The sperm enters a choanocyte cell, which lies adjacent to the mature ovum. The sperm loses its tail and becomes round, and then fuses with the mature ovum to form a zygote. The zygote undergoes various divisions and forms parenchyma or amphiblastula larva. Which leaves the sponge, settles on the substratum and grows into a mature sponge. Hence, phylum Porifera are the simplest and diverse taxon of benthic aquatic animals. They are the earliest branching metazoan taxon.
In unicellular, the bud arises as lateral projection on the original cell. Means in yeast, the bud come out from the cell and make a lateral projection. Lateral projections means small part come from the cell. Okay. Number two, the nucleus divides mitotically into how many nuclei? 2 nuclei. Why? Because each one cell produces 2 cells. Each one cell produces 2 cells. When the one cell produces 2 cells, each cell produced contain the same number of chromosomes and the same nucleus. But if there are 2 cells undergo the mitotic division, the 2 cells produce how many cells? 4 cells. Also, each one contains n number of chromosomes. Okay, one of them remains in the mother cell while the other moves towards the bud. The bud grows gradually, then it may remain connected with the mother cell till it grow. Then it separates from it. How? If the bud is still in the mother cell, this is make a colony. Okay, bud grow gradually. Maybe this bud go out from the cell. When it go out from the cell, it produce new individual. But when this bud remains as with the cell, what happens? It make a grouped or colonies. In multicellular organisms, the bud grow as a small cellular protrusions or projection from one side of the body due to the division of the interstitial cells. What is meant by interstitial cells? The mother cell, okay? And their differentiation into a bud. Differentiation into a bud means the small part that comes from the cell named by bud. The cell divides, forming the bud, okay? Then the cytoplasm divides after that. The bud contain nucleus and cytoplasm may be attached like this figure, attached with the mother cell or the parent yeast. Chain of cells or chain of yeast cells formed. This grouped or colonies named by daughter cells may be separated each one. Okay. The bud grow gradually to resemble the mother entirely. Entirely means inside the component of the cell, like the cytoplasm and the nucleus. Number two, the new individual usually separate to start its life independently. Means that maybe this bud separate from the living organism or from the yeast and make an individual free from the mother cell. And in this case, this cell can perform all functions as a new cell without parent or mother cell. And this is type of reproduction, means without forming colonies. This is the structure of the hydra. Hydra is a living organism that live in water. When it undergoes mitotic division, the bud grow, okay, or grows from the stem. Bud develops, okay, and take a tentacles, contain from the structure of the bud, contain mouth and the tentacles. Tentacles means arms. Arms come like the parent cell, okay. Bud detaches from parent. Detaches means go away, separated from the parent and become independently, means independent, another new individual with new systems and new character, and undergo the mitotic division after time of after a period of time. This method is common in many plants, also common in worms like planaria. Planaria is a type of worm. When you cut it, it produces a new individual or a new or compensate the damaged part from it. Okay. Some animals such as sponges, okay, sponges, sphinx, hydra, and starfish. Regeneration is not considered a reproduction in some organisms. Why not consider a reproduction? Where it is limited on compensating. Means that the regeneration in some individuals or some living organism, regeneration is not considered a type of reproduction or a type of asexual reproduction. Why? Because it limited for compensate the damaged part. Like what? Like lizard. If you cut the tail of lizard, the lizard can renew its tail by new one. In this case, it undergoes regeneration. But this regeneration is not related to asexual reproduction. Why? Because it compensates the damaged part without multiplying the cell, without increase the number of the cell. Also, the damaged part compensate with another one. Okay? This is in some types of organisms, not in all types, not in all types. Most of the types of undergo regeneration to compensate or to help in growth, increase the number of individuals. Okay. Where it is limited on compensating the lost part, when it exposed to an accident or a rupture. Ruptures means cut of the tissue. The capacity for regeneration. What is the capacity of regeneration? Decreases by increasing the animal evolution. Means when the animal become large or more higher animal, the capacity of regeneration decreases, not found in this capacity. And this is a questions give reason. Why? Because regeneration never exceeds the healing of wound, especially those located in the skin, blood vessels and muscle. Like what? In human body, if there is a cut in your hand, what happens if there is a cut in your hand? This wound can be healing by what? By reproduction. Asexual reproduction means mitotic division. This part regenerate. If the part cut inside the blood vessels, inside your blood vessels, veins, okay, like veins, not arteries طبعا، لأن الveins دي بتبقى superficial, okay, يعني near the skin. If there is a cut happens in the blood vessel, this blood vessel can be renew and compensate and also healing the wound. In this case, the regeneration is limited in higher plant or also in higher animals. Also some crustaceans like shrimp and crab, amphibians, regenerated is limited. Okay, the last one or the last examples for this asexual reproduction, regeneration occurs in hydra, in shrimp, in crustacea. This is the end of the regeneration. Asexual reproduction includes many types. We start by budding, binary fission, okay, regeneration, and we are complete the other types of asexual reproduction in the next session. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy our time. Goodbye.